Hello everyone, Jody here from MethodGrid. Welcome to this MethodGrid webinar. I'm joined by Paul Wilson from Provelio, and we're going to talk. Hi Paul, thanks for coming along. We're going to talk a little bit how Provelio are using MethodGrid for their capital project delivery. Following that, we'll do a quick dive into some of the features of MethodGrid that you'll see in Paul's capital project methodology, specifically how you can add content to make those elements within a grid come alive. Then I'll briefly touch on some features we've got upcoming in MethodGrid, hopefully generate some questions on that if you've got any ideas. And finally, we'll have a Q&A to answer your questions at the end. If you look in your webinar screen, you should have a questions tab on the right. So as we're going along, if you've got a question you want to ask at any point to either me or Paul, just type it in there and submit it, and they'll start to list up there and we can all see them, and we'll address all those at the end. Okay, so Paul, tell us a little bit about Provelio and what you guys do over there.
Okay, so we're construction project management consultants, so working for large asset owning clients, delivering capital programs and projects, any sort of size and nature, public and private sector. Great.
And at the moment, you guys are using MethodGrid a lot. You've got a lot of information in there. Perhaps you could tell us how MethodGrid is helping you guys internally and with delivery, maybe any kind of business pain points that MethodGrid's really addressed for you.
Yep. So, we use it in a number of fashion, really, in terms of both our delivery, in terms of our service delivery for capital projects, programs, and also our internal training and induction. So people know as they start what's expected of them, what's the manner in which we deliver our projects. And then within the actual service delivery element, which is what we're going to look at today, we've captured all of our delivery processes by stage and stakeholder so that we can then clearly go through each deliverable, make clear what's in it, what's required, who should be doing it, have we got good examples. So it's enabled us to capture all of our best practice and also examples across the business where people have done particularly good execution plan or a brief or perhaps a delivery program, and then we can then make sure that knowledge is sort of captured and retained.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for that. So I'm just going to drop out of this presentation here and go and take a look at the grid that you guys have built out there. So this is Provelio's Capital Projects Manual. Before we kind of go into that and start looking through it, perhaps you could tell us a bit about how you approached planning this grid.
Yeah, so obviously the beauty of project management is the stages, generally speaking, certainly in construction in the UK, are pretty determined by the RIBA plan of work. We've had to take some of the stages of that and expand them more. We didn't really capture. So, for example, it was quite weak around the whole, local authority planning process. And it's quite weak around procurement. But what we then did was across the stages, across the top, so 0, 1, 2, 3, basically reflect that RIBA plan of work. And then the themes, what we did is for themes, effectively, we've got stakeholders. So, each party that you deal with, whether it be the client, the user group, whether it be project managers, architects, engineers. And then what we've then done is map that across as a work breakdown structure in effect against each stage, so that you can then see each deliverable and what's expected from each party to be done. Obviously that then reflects the program or schedule that we're delivering the project against, and from our point of view then we can then monitor that against the specific deliverables, which for most projects are probably 90-95% the same across most projects, and therefore what we can do is focus our time on the ones that might be unusual or specific. So what you might need for a school, you might not need for a hospital, but a good chunk of it is the same. What we've then done is, did you want to go in to look into one in particular?
Yeah, shall I have a look at this end stage review?
Okay,
so this is one of the elements in there.
Sort of and so what we then do is effectively just drop all the knowledge we've got against each of those sort of deliverables, in effect, where we can put in our standard templates, a brief descriptor of it, just give it some context, what the inputs would be into that document, who from, what they would look like, and then what the outputs would be. We can put in responsibilities that might be, so for example on that one, the responsibilities with the client project officer in terms of reviewing and signing it off. And we've also then got links into good practice elsewhere, or other templates or sort of guidance notes. So very often in there we might make short videos, we might have links to a blog or a guidance note or a practice note. And then what that does then allow is the detail in terms of each deliverable, that you haven't got to sit down with your staff or the client each time and constantly re-explain the same things over and over again, because as you say, as a process, a good part of it is fairly replicable and repeatable. What we find is we want to spend our management time with the client on the stuff that's high risk, high value, or is just a unique thing that's not normal on a job. That's where you want to spend your management effort.
Absolutely. And how do you guys use it over there in Provelio on kind of on a day-to-day basis? So the team in there a lot, and how do you kind of continuously improve this methodology?
So sort of two ways really. Is we have the all our staff tend to be on an arrangement whereby like any good ideas are sort of welcomed and rewarded as they go. So we try and encourage the staff to really take ownership of this, and really buy into this is good for them, and it makes their life easier. It means they can work smarter and quicker, which obviously means is good for the client, good for them and good for us. So that tends to be a sort of win-win all round. And then what we do in terms of, we will have a like an away day with the team, maybe once a quarter, every 3 or 4 months, and then this would be one of the topics that we would run through. Have people working in sort of learning groups or sort of focus groups, where we might say, well, what has anyone learned in the last X months about this? We can tie it into our lessons learned log, so any of the lessons that drop out of projects can then drop into this. So really all those sort of sources where you can find information and useful feedback, we grab those reports, and then they've got somewhere to go. So what we tended to find in the past is you'd have a number of lessons learned documents, post-occupancy evaluations, those post-project review type reports, but unless they actually feed into some sort of controlled document, nothing ever happens with them. What Method Group gives us is that platform in which to embed those lessons learned, and then they're learned and you move on, rather than somebody looking up in 6 months' time saying, oh yeah, I can remember on my job that went wrong too, rather than thinking, oh great, I can see that went wrong on my job. I fed it into here, and now I can see that not only will my jobs not go that way, but neither will any of my colleagues.
That's great. Thanks a lot, Paul. That's really, really useful. I hope everyone's had a little insight there into how it's been used for this capital projects manual and methodology in general. I'm going to sort of take over now and go a little bit through how this kind of content is added, so you can sort of see the platform in action. I'll just switch over to our demo. So as you saw there in Provelio's grid, the kind of key content areas and where the meat of your methodology is kept in those elements. So I'm just going to quickly run through and show you the type of content you can put in there, and also kind of quickly show you how quick it is to create a grid. So here I am in our demo platform here. I've got my various folders for grids here. I'm a builder, so I can actually create content in our platform. So just to give you an example how quickly I can get up and running, I can create a new grid here. Give my grid a name. Perhaps it's project delivery methodology. I've got my stages here, which are our columns, and I've got my themes down here, and I can add to those pretty quickly, just add up. And I can build that out there. So perhaps this is project startup. Project delivery. Ignore my spelling. Project review, and you get the idea. You can move down through the stages, and then my themes may be business case, risk management, and so on. So you can build out your structure of your methodology here with your stages, or sort of repeatable stages that you go through, and then break these down by themes into columns. And then the content itself just simply lives in these elements. So anywhere within these intersections between stage and themes, I can add as many elements as I like. So real easy, I just click on add element and off I go. It's put me in here to name my element. So perhaps this is my business case stage or planning stage. I put in there title. There we go, there's my element in the grid. So in here I get a blank state really to start with. I've got 2 columns to work in, as you saw in Provelio's, and I simply click on these to add content areas, which I can then move around and populate. So we've got a number of standard content areas. We've got a simple text area. So this might be overview of this step. I can type in text here. I've got some basic formatting, bold, bullet points, etc. And that's a text area. We've got file uploads areas, so we can manage documents up here for you. I can move these into different columns if I wish, move them over here. So I might have some project templates that I want people to download and use. I can simply upload files here, best practice PDF, and there we go. That's available to everyone now who views this. If I come out of edit mode up here, this is how a user would see this element now. I come out there. That's how I can now see exactly as one of our users would see it. They work through, they open up business case, and there's the information I've quickly populated. So another one over here. So this is one of the areas that really makes MethodGrid fly, and this is our experts area. So I can link this particular element to a member of my team. So I could say internal experts in the business case, and then I can add in members of my team. Perhaps that's Emma and Harry. Okay, and now anyone viewing this can see who to contact if they have any questions, and they can click on here and it will take you off to Harry's profile where you can populate it with whatever contact details you want. It's completely configurable. So let's add a new content area over here. So that's the experts area. We've got an images area, so you can get some images here, schematics and what have you. Simple to use again. I simply upload the image and there it comes in. So anyone viewing this grid now has got images as well. So you can see how quickly I can build this out into whatever I want. If you click on the image, it'll open it up in a new tab at the full size if it's a particularly large image. We've also got video areas. You can embed any video from any platform which supports the Embed API. So take a YouTube video example here. Simply put in the URL. I can give it a title if I like. Prince 2. Put that in, it's going to go off. And it embeds my video there. Now any user looking at this has got an embedded video to play in there. And you can put that into your internal hosting one as well. As long as it supports Embed, that'll work, no problem. We also have element links areas. So this is another really strong point of MethodGrids. We can interlink all these grids and elements within grids together. So for instance, I might want to put the output of this as the next step, output next step. And I can link to any one of these elements in any grid on my platform. So perhaps it's my capital project brief is my next element. I can select that here And that's now, if I click on that, going to link off to that element in that grid. And I can really start to build out steps that are completely interlinked without having to go back to the grid. I can have people just step through this, no problem. After element links, we've got simple web links, so I can just link off to any website. So let's go to BBC. Just copy a URL there, paste it in here. Now I've got a link off to a relevant website for my users to click on. Cloud document links. So we give you the ability to upload. We'll host documents for you here, okay? But if you've got your own document management system like Office or the G Suite in Drive, we can also link off. You can keep all your user access control in there for your document management, and you can just simply link to those documents from each element. So if I insert one of these, if I had maybe a project brief template here, I can just copy the share URL. So most of these cloud document management systems are going to give you a share URL. You can then manage access to this as you normally would. I can come back in here. I just need to pop the URL in there. This is my project template to use. And I can submit that. And now that links off straight to that document. Okay, final element area we can have at the moment. We've got checklist areas, probably one of the most powerful ones in the tool. So in here, I'm simply creating a to-do list or any kind of checklist, and this could be as long as you want, 50 items, 100 items. So perhaps I have a to-do list for this section of the business case. I can label that up. I can add in items one by one, or I can clone an existing checklist from anywhere else. Save you building these out each time. So maybe I've got complete project brief. And there's my checklist. I can keep adding into these, just hit return. Sign off on that. And there we go. I've got myself a checklist. And my users, any user can come in now and tick these off. And you can get a progress report from within the grid as well. So if I drop out of this, this has now got checklists and all my content in that I've put in there pretty quickly, you can see. And over here in my info panel, it tells me how many elements within my grid have got checklists. So you can see I've got one element which has a checklist in it. And of all the elements with checklists in, it's going to start listing here which ones have been completed. So perhaps if I'm a manager and I want to see the delivery of this project, I can know when this has been ticked off. I get a progress bar up here to see how much has been done. And now I can see.
Just on that, Judy. Yeah. We use that for our inductions when we have new people starting. We have that spread over a 90-day plan. So what we can then do is track that they're working through what they need to have read by 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, so that we understand that they're up together with our quality standards and service delivery requirements. And basically they're taking on the knowledge that we need them to learn to be able to do the job effectively.
Yeah, I think it's a great point.
So it works both on project delivery, but also for, sort of a progress tracker on any sort of training. So same if they want to become chartered surveyors or chartered managers, we can help them through that as well. Well,
that's one of the great things about MethodGrid is this. I mean, I've just gone through those element areas there, but that's completely flexible. So there's no hard or fast. These are completely blank. You can get any checklist you want in there, and you can make any grid for anything. Like you say, an HR induction process, your project delivery manual, anything you like. It's a blank slate, yeah. Simple to use. Okay, I hope that's given everyone a little insight into just how quickly you can build these out and really how simple it is compared to a lot of, intranet building platforms or anything else. These publishing platforms, they can be a bit overkill. This one's simple, gets the job done. Okay, I'm going to drop back in to my presentation here. We've had a little look at elements. So another thing I wanted to touch on today is we're continuously adding features to MethodGrid. And over the next 3 months, we've got a few new features coming in, which I'll just explain, just to see if they generate any questions or perhaps any suggestions on this. So in January, we're looking at integrating chat applications. So within MethodGrid, in those elements I just showed you, any of your users can comment on there. So you can use that for people to ask questions about a process, that kind of thing. So this bit of work is going to let you connect a webhook to your Microsoft Teams, Slack, or Google Chat application, and you can have notifications of these sent into there. So if you've already got a instant messaging app going on, we can integrate with that. And then in February, we've got an often requested feature, which is user access controlling guest accounts for grids. So a lot of professional service firms, when they're using this for delivery, will clone, like a capital project grid, will clone that out on a per client basis. And we're introducing in February the ability to share that externally and also decide internally who has access to that. So you'll be able to really share MethodGrid with your clients going forward. And then in March, we're going to introduce a setup wizard just to help people get started with MethodGrid, know how to add new users, know how to use the basic functionality. So if you've got any ideas or questions on that, do put them in the questions tab there. And we're kind of reaching the end here of this webinar. So if you do have any questions, feel free to type them in the questions bit or just straight in the chat if you like. And that's for me or Paul. Now's your chance. I'll give us a couple of minutes, Paul, while we just in case anyone's trying to type. I'm not a very quick typer. Okay. Okay, guys. Well, if there aren't any questions, you know where to reach me. You'll get an email when the webinar closes. So just drop me an email. I'm very happy to schedule a follow-up with you. If you're interested in any more of our webinars, they're all on the website. So they'll start to, the next scheduled ones come up here. We've got regular demos going on of the platform itself. We'll have some more of these interviews coming up as well. If you want to read a few more case studies about how people are using MethodGrid, then drop into our case studies here. We've got a staff induction, Gate 1 user Binks Business Incubator, and of course, Provelio themselves. I'd also encourage you to sign up to our blog. Some great content there for professional service firms. We're also got a series on the art of gridding, which is some pre-recorded video interviews of how people are using MethodGrid in their business. If you ever want to get in touch or you want a one-to-one demo where we can talk back to each other, then just come up here and request a demo. Fill this form in and we'll arrange that for you, no problem. Okay, well, thanks, Paul. Thanks for all your help. That's been really interesting.
Okay, no worries.
And thanks, everyone. Hope to see you on another webinar soon. Goodbye for now.
Yes, thanks.
Thanks, guys. Bye.